Hello, beautiful you. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. To anyone who's new to this channel is dedicated to differentiating between traditional or actual non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, and fake non-duality, called Neo-Advaita. I asked myself, why do I do this channel? Initially, I was trying to expose one particular fake non-duality teacher. And then over time, I started talking about the difference between traditional Advaita Vedanta and fake Neo-Advaita for my own learning, but also to help other people. And then my focus has really shifted to this idea of recovering from Neo-Advaita. And, in my experience, it's not so simple to leave it behind if you went really far down the Neo-Advaita rabbit hole. It hasn't been for me, and I've met other people, as I've shared many times. Once I realized Neo-Advaita was untrue and harmful, it took me 14 years to leave. So, and hi to my live viewer. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to type them in. So recently someone recommended to me this teacher healer who has found this way to help people to get out of Neo-Advaita. And they sent me the link, and I almost threw up when I started to watch it. That's kind of the reaction I have now to Neo-Advaita is I start to feel nauseous, which is helpful because then it makes it really easy to spot. It's easy to spot anyway, but it makes it easier, let's say. So here are some of the crazy things that this, and it's so tempting for me to name this quote teacher healer. I kind of go back and forth whether that's helpful. Some days I feel like that doesn't really help, and I would rather, because there's just so many, and there's new ones popping up every day. And so I don't want to. So this particular quote teacher, quote healer, is now starting a movement where he's trained people, and now they're offering services, and it truly is a virus. So here's some of the crazy things this person said. So he said, in talking about non-duality, he said, sometimes people have really serious issues like trauma or multiple personality disorder or severe addiction, and they really feel like something is wrong with them. And you can say to them, and he continued, I'm paraphrasing, but almost exactly. He's like, and then you can say to them, there's nothing wrong with you. And here's the crazy part. And he said, but that's not meeting them where they're at. Well, that sounds good. But then he said, because in their reality, they feel like there's something wrong with them. Absolutely nutso. Nutso. Someone who has severe psychiatric issues, there's something wrong with them. Ultimately, their self, their soul is, I'm not going to deny that is pure, but to even say something like, oh, well, they feel like there's something wrong with them is just insane. It's beyond insane. It's delusional, and it's part of the whole brainwashing and look how subtle this is. He doesn't say, oh, they're wrong, or he says, oh, they just feel like something's wrong with them. And I'll continue in a little bit. It gets worse. Tomek. Hey, Tomek. Welcome. Yeah. Hi. Nice to see you on live, and I'll respond to what you said in a moment. So the next thing this person said is, he's like, even if it all is illusion, and it is. This is a direct quote from him. Talking about severe psychiatric things. He's like, that's not helpful to say to someone, nothing's wrong with you, even if it is all an illusion. And it is. So first of all, here's the thing. Neo-Advaita teachers have multiple personality disorder. They've literally created a false personality. And here it slipped through with this guy. He's like, even if it's all an illusion, it's all an illusion. So he doesn't actually know. He doesn't actually believe everything is an illusion. That's like the false personality that he's taken on and created inside himself. And then he catches himself and wait, oh, it all is. So again, I'm going to read this direct quote of his. Talking about severe psychiatric illness or issues, and then saying, going up to someone and saying there's nothing wrong with you isn't helpful, quote, direct quote, even if it all is illusion. And it all is. Advaita Vedanta, actual non-duality, doesn't teach that the world is an illusion. That's complete bullshit. And it certainly doesn't teach that psychiatric issues are an illusion. And it doesn't teach that all is an illusion. That's a denial of everything. That's also a denial of God and supreme reality, which a lot of Neo-Advaita teachers are not comfortable with the word God because they're basically atheists. It's one thing to be like, hey, I don't believe God has a personality, but there is a supreme force or power. That's what Advaita Vedanta teaches. But a lot of Neo-Advaita teachers teach that even God doesn't exist, or God is just nothingness. And by God, just meaning ultimate reality. So I'm going to take Tomek's comment, and then I'll come back to more of the nuttiness from the Neo-Advaita teacher du jour. I could expose one a day, and that would just be drops in the bucket. So Ramana Maharshi quotes are disturbing for me. It seems like he said 1,000,000 times, the world doesn't exist. There are no others, just you, and you are dreaming all. The teaching can drive you mad. So the thing is, Tomek, so that's a beautiful point. What I would say to you is that's not what Ramana Maharshi taught. That's an interpretation of Ramana Maharshi. Neo-Advaita teachers have created a false version of Ramana Maharshi and his teachings, and that's what they are passing along. He didn't say 1,000,000 times the world doesn't exist. If you read his unedited teachings, it's a topic he barely talks about. Of course, Neo-Advaita teachers talk about it all the time because they're stuck in delusion. The world doesn't exist. So that's not what Ramana taught. And anyone who's telling you that's what Ramana taught is lying. Anyone who tells you that's what the ultimate truth is lying. I mean, well, let me put it this way. Maybe it is the ultimate truth. Like I'm not a guru, but the absolute, here's what is true. Ramana Maharshi didn't teach that, and Advaita Vedanta doesn't teach that. Actual non-duality does not teach that. That's where I start because I'm not enlightened. I'm not enlightened. Neither are these guys, but and the occasional gal that they don't know it, but they think they are. Maybe in the end, everything is an illusion. I don't think so. Part of why I don't think so is because wise beings like Ramana didn't teach that. In fact, the Buddha taught that believing that the world existed is something that would bind you, and believing the world didn't exist is something that would bind you. That's an interesting one. And that's not some non-dual bullshit. It's a very subtle but interesting thing that believing things binds you. There are no others, just you. You know, Ramana Maharshi talked about ultimate reality, God, Brahman, as the substratum, the underlying reality upon which all these things appeared. He didn't say, and that would include you and me. He didn't say that they didn't exist. He said that they're not eternal. It's a big difference, that they're transitory. The definition of real and unreal in actual Advaita Vedanta is that which is, see, they don't use English, so it's complicated. But so let's just say real and unreal. We'll start there. That which is real is eternal, and that which is unreal is transitory. But that doesn't mean non-existent. And secondly, real and unreal are English words. Ramana Maharshi didn't speak English, neither did Adi Shankara. The various scriptures that they're drawing from aren't written in English. So real and unreal is really a bad translation. It's a very bad translation. You know, here's something Neo-Advaita teachers won't tell you. When Ramana Maharshi, his mother is buried at Ramana Ashram. So first of all, her body wasn't cremated, which is only done, everyone's body gets cremated, well, if you're Hindu, in India, unless you're considered an enlightened being. Then your body is buried. And so first of all, he declared her enlightened. And how that happened is a fascinating story, but that's another time. But on her grave, it's not really a grave because it's more like a memorial honoring an enlightened being. He installed a Sri Yantra. A Sri Yantra is a sacred symbol in Hinduism that honors the goddess. Just think about that for a moment. The body of his mother, he installed a traditional Hindu symbol. I'm not sure whether it was a painting or a statue. I haven't seen the actual. Honoring his mother as a goddess or as the goddess. The woman whose body that he entered this world through, he honored her profoundly and completely. So Neo-Advaita is nothing more and nothing less than a religion. What is a religion? Well, let's say a religion in the bad sense of the word. I don't think everything that's religion is bad, but a religion becomes bad when it takes like 1 or 2 or 3% of a teaching and focuses exclusively on that, waters it down, and then makes it like a formula that everyone should follow. And that's all Neo-Advaita is a formula. It's just a religion. Like you go to most people leave organized religions because they go and read the actual text and they're like, what these people are doing is contradictory to the actual teachings. That's all Neo-Advaita is. And you are dreaming all. Ramana did say life is dream-like, but he didn't say that we were dreaming it. And he certainly didn't deny that what was happening was happening. In fact, he said, in the various Hindu texts, there's all these talks of all these different gods and goddesses and different realms. It's quite vivid. And he said that they all exist. He said they're not eternal. They're not the ultimate truth, which that I hesitate to say that because that can lead people down the wrong road. And so here's the thing. Advaita, anything non-dual without a proper teacher will drive you nuts if you follow it. You're exactly right, Tomek. It happened. It sounds like it's happened to you. It happened to me. It's happened to many people, which is the other reason why I do this. I do this for my own therapy because Neo-Advaita is insanity. And so when people come at me with insanity, it's stressful. So part of how I unwind is I make these videos. And joyfully, these videos help other people to recognize insanity. So let's see if there's anything else I want to say about this. Oh yeah, this whack job, this absolutely beautiful being who is a whack job. He says people with severe problems may need different attention than his Neo-Advaita teachers. May? It's insane that he, see, if this guy knew anything, what he would say is people with severe issues need things other than, but he's completely addicted to Neo-Advaita. Neo-Advaita is addicting. Neo-Advaita people cannot not talk about Neo-Advaita. They're pushing it, they're talking about it, they're thinking about it 24/7. Maybe not 24/7. They'd be enlightened if they could think about it 24/7. And they have to sleep a little bit, and then they stop thinking about it. And then he continues. God, this guy. And this is a quote. So we are learning to discern between those who are ripe and are, quote, ready to awaken versus those who may need some help. So if this guy had an actual guru, if he read Ramana Maharshi directly or studied Adi Shankara, he would know. Like he's kind of creating the wheel because he's too arrogant to have an actual teacher because this person is not enlightened, but they think they are. So he's not going to approach an actual guru, and he's not going to read the teachings of an actual guru because that'll expose his lie. So the bad news in all of this is this particular quote teacher is now starting a movement where he's teaching a healing modality that supposedly will help people who've been damaged by Neo-Advaita overcome Neo-Advaita, and then he's teaching Neo-Advaita. So what I will say out of respect to this person is, a lot of Neo-Advaita teachers will only teach Neo-Advaita. So at least this guy's also offering some emotional technique that may be helpful. I don't know. I'm skeptical, but maybe it is. I don't know. And at least this dude is, it's like he's beginning to wake up to the fact that not everyone is ready or ripe for self-inquiry. In essence, he's waking up that not everyone is ripe for the nonsense he's peddling. Because if you have a balanced, stable personality, you can take on the Neo-Advaita stuff and it won't drive you crazy quickly. It'll just kind of slowly eat away at your life and your life force. It's not so bad if you don't have extreme suffering. So thank you so much. And the worst thing is this guy seems so earnest. And I think he has a little bit of earnestness because he was damaged by Neo-Advaita. But then he's now spreading Neo-Advaita and saying that he's not. And offering this technique that he charges money for. And now training other people and they're charging money. So he's like created his own thing. Because he thinks he's enlightened. Because Someone who thinks they're, and I, you know what, for the longest time, I didn't consciously think I was enlightened, but I did. And not so much I was enlightened, but more like I'm more spiritually awake and aware than everyone else. I didn't consciously think that, but I unconsciously did. So I just kind of did my own thing, you know? I just kind of like made up my own spiritual teachings and tried to be my own spiritual teacher and my own healer, and finally got humble and started really looking at what Ramana Maharshi actually taught and what Adi Shankara taught and what the Bhagavad Gita taught. So thank you so much, beautiful souls. Neo-Advaita is alive and well. It's subtle. This particular teacher is very subtle. I'm glad I caught it. What I'm really realizing is Neo-Advaita is just an ongoing recovery from Neo-Advaita is like this ongoing curriculum of learning to catch more and more subtle illusions. So thank you so much, beautiful souls. I wish you a Neo-Advaita free day. Take care.